Don't make me whistle really loud. All right, this is the time where I'm going to call it housekeeping, and I'm going to do this super fast, and you'll have more questions. You can talk to your leaders about it. These are mentor information. Everyone's been like, what do I do? What do I do? Okay, first of all, this gives you what a mentor is going to do. So if you're asking people who have already mentored, they kind of already know what regen mentoring looks like. If you're asking someone particularly that doesn't go to our church, and if you have someone that's maybe from a different church, awesome, because we always are short. So first, our goal is that you find someone who's a believer, who's same sex as you are, who you know. And then it's going to be someone that's going to track with you when you leave Regen, okay? If you don't have that, then you're going to talk to your mentor, your step leaders, and you're going to give them maybe kind of like your top 3, what you feel like you might need in a mentor. And what I mean by that is, I want someone who is black and white. I want someone who's going to press into me because I'm going to run, I'm going to not do my homework, and I need someone who's going to push into me. I need someone who's really gentle. I'm in a fragile state, and if they push me, I'm going to run and I'm going to be out. So giving us some clues as far as personality. Sometimes someone wants someone their age. Sometimes they want someone that's older than them. Those are good things that when we have to then start helping you find them, it gives us a little clue of what you might need. Your second sheet is an agreement. So the next 2 sheets, the back one, your mentor agreement, I want to challenge you guys when you talk to your mentor and they agree to give them this, that you guys both read it, you understand what kind of relationship that you're stepping into for the next 10 months. And then you both agree to that. Because in the past, we will have people, and it would never be any of you, who start ghosting their mentors, who stop texting them, who stop answering their texts. And it's fun. We got to track you down, and the mentor has to track you down. So we want you to sign an agreement that, hey, this is your part of the bargain. And then your mentor is going to sign and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you. And then this top sheet is what I want. This is the money for me, especially if your mentor doesn't go to our church. This is just contact information because I put them in a database and then I'm sending them training materials. I'm setting up meetings with them. And so I want to make sure that I have their best contact info. So you need to fill this out. You can do that over the phone even if you have your mentor, and just get their stuff on there and then give this back to your leader next week, okay? So we're going to be really pushing that you've got to have your mentor set by 2 weeks time, okay? You have 2 more weeks. I'm going to try and push you and say 1 week would be better. You want to start establishing your relationship before we get to step 4, okay? And that's coming fast. All right, so we're going to transition. Your leaders can answer any more questions that you have about mentors during your step group time. So we're going to continue in our testimonies from leaders. And Tim, you're going to come up and give us your best. You ready?
Yeah.
And let me go look for a stand for you.
I'll use the table.
Okay.
Shalom. Is that yours, Joe?
Yeah.
Frank. I'm not supposed to be left in stuff. Okay, I'm gonna read because this is long. I chopped it in half. My boss said to chop it in half. I did the best I could do. Started with shalom. I get emotional, so bear with me. It's not a good start. Okay. Hello, my name is Tim, and I have a new life in Christ. I'm recovering from alcohol addiction and alcohol abuse, primarily as a tool to deal with or to try to manage insecurity and identity issues as a result of things that happened when I was a kid, which I'll get into. So here's a short version of my testimony. I was one way, and now I am completely different. The thing that happened in between was him. Does anybody recognize that? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's from The Chosen. It's when Mary was trying to explain to anyone? I don't even know his name. But she was trying to explain what happened to her, which was God. If I look epileptic, it's just because I'm trying to keep the emotions down. So her statement was vague and it was ambiguous, but it was the best way she could explain it, and it's the best way that I can explain it because I don't understand it either. The other powerful thing to me in that show was when Jesus sat down next to her at a bar when she was about to pick up a drink, and he said, that's not for you. And that's the message that I finally received too. All right, my background, I was born and raised primarily in Southern California to a mom and dad, and I had a brother and sister. They were both 10 and 12 years older than I was. My childhood was good and bad, worse than some, better than others, as I've learned throughout listening to you guys and other people. Some of the traumas I experienced, it's a long list. 2 divorces, abandonment, rejection, emotional abuse, emotional neglect, sexual abuse, molestation, drugs and drug abuse, alcohol and alcohol abuse, sexual confusion and sexual proclivities and sexual stuff I should have never been exposed to, and crime, which included theft, burglary, vandalism, selling drugs, racing, and then kind of as a joke, but it's not really a joke, and then I turned 15. Surviving that and being who I am today is truly by the grace of God. As a kid, I knew my environment and the people in it were not the path for me, nor the way I wanted to live my life. I was also introduced to God at a very early age. I accepted Christ and was baptized around 11 years old. I was never discipled long term. I had exposure to God and the truth, but I didn't abide by it. I thought God's words and law were kind of like a suggestion. But I knew right from wrong, and I learned it, and I continuously chose wrong. And as a result of that, I suffered from fear, shame, and guilt for decades. So I joined the Marines right after high school, did very well, was honorably discharged, and continued to do well. I got married, school, business degree, graduate degree, had kids, had a house, lived the life of Tim. I forgot to say I'm also recovering from idolatry because I served myself. I lived the life of Tim, and I got away with it until about 2010. Up until then, I made sure the outside looked okay, but I was habitually lying, stealing, cheating, and I was completely lost and unhappy, but I was not willing to deal with it. So starting in 2010, during the course of about 2 years, my life imploded. Some of the things that happened, divorce, custody disputes, foreclosure of the house I built, bankruptcy, fired from 2 really good jobs because I would not stop drinking, took and failed the bar exam, and I got arrested twice in 2011. I fought my way through that, as I did with everything, which was with alcohol. I never took accountability for anything because I was a victim, and I justified that. I didn't change my habits or behaviors or thoughts, so nothing changed. Fast forward a few years, summer of 2018, my parents died 3 weeks weeks apart. Thank you very much. They were living in Arlington, and I had been caring for them for the past few years of their lives. These are the people that were the initial causes of my trauma. But I was fortunate enough to have a good relationship with them as an adult, and they took me in at my worst times as an adult. We never dealt with any of our past or wounds. It was just forgotten or avoided. So when they died, everything that I had kept stuffed exploded. And then at about the same time, out of nowhere, completely undeserving, but with perfect timing, God delivered Karen, my now wife. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday. And with her, unconditional love, support, wisdom, guidance, hope, friendship, family, friends, church, and an entire brand new life full of joy and hope and promise. But I had difficulty accepting that because I didn't think I deserved it, nor was I used to it. It was all foreign to me. So to deal with that, I went to alcohol to cope, because I realized I couldn't deal with the good or the bad. But I did want help because I knew better. I knew better all along. I was exhausted from running, and I knew my way wasn't working, no matter how many times I tried to prove myself wrong. So I started Regen in 2018, and I showed up drunk to Jeff's class. Jeff's still mad about that.
I was maybe buzzing too.
He didn't even know you were drunk.
I'm just kidding.
I made it a couple months, but I pulled out right in the beginning of inventory, which of course is a good time to do that. Don't do that. Coincidentally, not really, I was arrested on New Year's Eve of New Year's Eve for 2019, so it was like December 31st, 2018, because I thought I was RoboCop running around Sundance Square, and the real cops didn't agree with me. I couldn't understand why. I started Regen again in August 2019, but I was still drinking and still running. So December 13th, 2019, here's when the story starts getting good. I was arrested again because of alcohol. Getting arrested that night was the best thing that has ever happened to me. It was an answer to prayer I did not know existed. I was detained. This is just kind of a story, so the next time that you're driving up 287. I was detained on Broad Street overpass above 287 in Mansfield, heading west. I was so drunk, I thought the QT there on the left meant that I was home, because there's a QT on 663 by my house, except that's on the right. And I was just totally lost. As my partner, Andrew, which I don't know if you remember or not, once told me, God saved me on that bridge. And I heard God say, you don't want to be doing this anymore. Just like Jesus told Mary, this is not for you. Hence the impact that The Chosen and that scene had on me. The next day in jail, I finally realized where I was my fault. It was a result of my choices in continuously choosing alcohol over everything and everyone else, especially God and Karen. God preserved me through uncountable tragedies, and then even rewarded me, giving me more than I could ever ask for, more than I ever deserved. But he still left the choice to me. It's like, with me, without me, with me, without me, with me, without me, and I almost went without him. However, then and there, I did three things. I committed to stop drinking, I surrendered to God, and I profusely apologized to God, and I repented. I've spent the last 45 months pursuing that commitment. I haven't touched alcohol, and I've woken up sober for 1,369 days, and I will never go back. Thank you. I was not supposed to be doing it anyway, but. And I have made God and recovery priority number one in my life every single day. Just a couple more things. Change takes intentional effort every single day. I had to break habits and behaviors and build and practice new ones. I even had to remove people from my life, family members. I have disassociated with alcohol and eliminated it as an option. That, for me, was key. I don't battle with it. I don't have issues with it. I completely removed it from my life. It is, if I'm having a bad day, alcohol is not one of my potential remedies. It doesn't exist. It no longer exists. That took time and it took practice and it wasn't easy, but it was absolutely worth it. The difference now with life and temptation is awareness and wisdom, capturing thoughts and analyzing them to find out what the cause is. It's turning to God and asking Him for help. God wants my reliance on Him. He doesn't want me handling anything alone. So to God's preservation and pursuit, I switched doctors a few months ago, and in what I can only describe as a miracle, it was identified that all of the arteries in my heart were at least 85% blocked, and that I needed quadruple open bypass heart surgery if I was going to live beyond maybe a couple years. So I was symptom free, had no idea whatsoever. I was working out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. 4 weeks ago, right? 4 weeks ago today, that happened. I had quadruple open heart bypass surgery, and I'm good to go, ahead of schedule, back at the gym cranking out cardio. However, today I almost passed out on the treadmill because I thought it would be a good idea to run, and it was not a good idea. Thank you for picking me up. Hearing that news was shocking. The reality of not being indestructible and immortal is harsh, as stupid as that sounds. But we, grow up and learn certain things and think certain ways. But the news also was delivered by Christians, people delivering God's message that this just needed to happen. This whole situation was perfectly orchestrated, just like everything else that God's done in my life. I firmly believe God wants more for me, but He also wants more from me, and more and more and more, because it keeps on coming and I graciously receive it. Identity was a huge struggle for me. The event started in 2011, set off a course of an 8-year period of what I just kind of call the abyss. I didn't identify as a criminal, but I was stuck in that vortex of the criminal system, and I tried to balance that as well as being a professional. What I failed to remember during that time is that I am special. I am made in God's image and likeness. My identity rests between me and God and not alone, but it took me a long time to climb out of that pit. God made that possible, so did effortless patience by Karen. A note, I did not run, this is just like a disclaimer. I did not turn to God because my life had fallen apart. God was with me from a very, very young age. And I knew better. It's my choices and my behavior that led to the results. God has enabled me to put my life back together, stronger than it ever was. It is now right. I live transparently and authentically. The angel that I'm married to, the house I live in, the stepkids I continuously try to avoid and ignore that can't seem to get enough of me. The family that has accepted me, the church family that has accepted me, getting back into studying law and doing it for the right reasons, career hopes, dreams, goals, and desires I have back. I have seen hard, harsh, bitter times, and I regret none of it because it has made me who I am today, and it has made me grateful for everything. God has never, ever, 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 ever let me down. He's never let me down. One thing I realized recently is that He is always there, and He was always there whenever I need Him. And I thought, what a jerk I was to use him as a God of circumstance. The relationship should be reciprocal. One of my favorite verses is Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You will be able to rest and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. That is regen, but it's also emotional maturity and growth. Just like disassociating from alcohol and removing it as an option, we have to change the way we think. And we have to realize that our choices are ours. We do it. Nobody makes us. Something else was like, we can't choose our parents. They just are. We can't choose our upbringing. We can't choose our family of origin. It just happened. And it's easy to blame, but it's also a responsibility that we have as adults to identify it and heal from it. We have to change the way we think. Do not conform to this world, be different, and embrace it. Okay, thank you for allowing me to share my story. My name is Tim, and I am truly transformed through Jesus Christ.
Okay, so all of you are left with a choice wherever you're at on the spectrum of admit. Whether you are with his laundry list or you are over here and it looks like a cleaner laundry list. The result is the same. Sin separates us, it breaks relationship, and you're here for a purpose. So as you walk back into your groups, go deeper into finishing up admit. Don't leave anything uncovered as you finish this step, and we move tomorrow to step 2. You've made it through 1. Good job. All right, go to your groups.